It's nearly been a year since I first got access to Microsoft 365 Copilot, and with Microsoft's annual renewable pricing model, this means that if I want to keep using Copilot, I have to commit to another whole year and shell out another $360 per user per license. Many of you are probably also in the same boat, with Copilot renewals coming up, and for small business owners, this is no small bill to see charged to our credit cards. So am I going to renew my Copilot subscription or not? And should you? Keep watching to find out. But first, a quick introduction. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm the owner of Bright Ideas Agency, a digital transformation consulting company focused on helping smaller businesses get the best from AI. Check out the links below if you're interested in learning more about me or my services. So first of all, let me cut the suspense. Of course I'm renewing Copilot. What else would I make videos here about? You'd all get tired of listening to me complain about Microsoft Loop pretty quick. But for those of you who aren't focused on helping others with these types of AI products, there may be a real decision point for you if you're coming up to your annual renewal. There are now several more options out there than there were when Microsoft 365 Copilot was released, and I know for many of you there remain features that we thought might turn up from Microsoft that are still elusive in Copilot to this day. If you want an experience from another provider that gives you a lot of what you see in Microsoft 365 Copilot, at least the type of functionality you get in BizChat, what has been variously known as Copilot with Graph Grounded Chat or Business Chat before the recent rebrand, then there are definitely other options out there. The kind of nuclear option, if you're already embedded with Microsoft 365, is Gemini for Google Workspace. I say this is the nuclear option, as adopting this wouldn't just require you dump Copilot, but probably to dump Microsoft 365 too, or at least adopt Google Workspace alongside it. I had lots of bad things to say about Google's AI back when it was called Bard, but the reality is that these products have much improved in recent months. Gemini Advanced gives good quality outputs and is really quick, often much quicker than Copilot. You can even access Google's Gemini business products more cheaply than you can Microsoft 365 Copilot. But there are parts of the overall Copilot package you only get when opting for Gemini Enterprise, which is priced the same. However, in my view, there's no significant point of difference between Copilot and Gemini Business that should be causing any business at this point to decide to jump from Microsoft 365 to Google Workspace or vice versa. If, as an overall productivity suite, this change is good for your business and you're on board with the fact that making the change is likely to drive significant cost, then go right ahead. But don't do it for their AI tools. At least, not just yet. But there are ways to stick with Microsoft 365 and leverage someone else's AI. Recently, I published a video here considering the importance of graph connectors as a means to bring external data into the Microsoft Graph and Copilot Semantic Index, allowing Copilot to reason over a great deal more data to give you responses that are more meaningful. However, just as this type of tooling is a great solution to make Copilot more powerful, there's no reason we can't achieve the reverse by giving an external AI assistant access to some or most of your Microsoft 365 data. This is exactly the mechanism a tool like Amazon's Q uses to work with your business data wherever it lives, whether that be SharePoint or Teams or OneDrive or elsewhere like Dropbox or Google Drive. And from there you could use this data to ground chat-based AI requests, or even as data sources for simple AI-powered apps that can work similarly to Copilot's prompt plugins. However, what is to bear in mind is that while Amazon's Q is cheaper than Copilot, its pricing model separates its indexing from the AI tool itself, meaning you might end up with a more complex bill from Amazon than you would from Microsoft. There's a wide range of other solutions that offer some or all of these types of feature sets too, including something as basic as connecting your OneDrive to ChatGPT for basic grounding, to a product like Sana AI, which looks extremely feature-rich, and I haven't personally tried, but was recently selected by a contact I'd been seeking to advise on his Copilot adoption, but who selected it as a better solution for his particular business needs. And while if you've already put a year into Copilot, there will definitely be cost and pain to move into a new solution, this kind of sunk cost thinking isn't necessarily the right viewpoint. However, I do think there are lots of good reasons to stick with Copilot over many of these other tools. But before we explore what those reasons are, if you're finding this video useful, it would be great if you'd give it a like. And if you want to see more like this, please do subscribe to the channel. Aside from Gemini in Google Workspace, the biggest selling point I can see for Microsoft 365 Copilot over alternatives is if you want to maximise your penetration with end users across a wide spectrum of levels of technology interest, is how easily it plugs into the apps you're using every single day. Competitor products have great integrations at the data level, and I think undoubtedly in different areas would be able to compete with, if not outcompete, BizChat. But for many end users, the starting point for using Copilot isn't necessarily BizChat, it's Copilot panels in their existing Microsoft 365 apps. This ease of accessibility is, in my opinion at least, the thing that makes Copilot such an appropriate tool to deploy across the broad range of types of users who produce work with Microsoft 365. You know the integration between Copilot and your productivity apps is just going to work now and into the future because they're made by the same vendor. And you know that Microsoft is incentivized to continue innovating on integrating Copilot into these apps, as it's only if they show you value there that they can maintain their advantage. One of the measures I consider in the value of an investment in Copilot is how much efficiency boost does it provide by saving me time. This varies considerably week to week as my work patterns change depending on the needs of clients. But on average, I find myself engaging with Copilot in one place or another a couple of hours each day, and it contributes to me saving about an hour and a half to 2 hours per week. So on this basis, as long as I expect an hour of my time to generate more than about $4 in revenue, Copilot is at least a break-even investment. However, it's certainly true that Copilot helps me a lot more in some tasks than in others. One example where it helps me a lot is with my one-on-one coaching sessions on AI adoption and digital transformation. These are where clients can book me for a focus meeting to discuss their business objectives or personal development needs around these topics, and I find Copilot helps me a lot in the preparation for these sessions and in sending structured follow-up notes afterwards. These sessions are somewhat sporadic. Some months I may have a handful, and others far less, but this consistently saves me between 30 minutes and an hour per session. And of course, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, use the link below to head over to my website to find out more about booking your session. By contrast, one of the areas Copilot has most promise is in helping manage the records and outputs of Teams meetings. And when this works, it is a huge time saver. But being an independent consultant, many of my clients prefer to set up their own meetings that I just attend. So using Copilot is entirely out of the question there. This is an extremely frustrating limitation that those who use a third-party AI meeting bot like Firefly don't experience, and is something Microsoft must find a way to fix. However, when it comes to the value of staying with or even starting with Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's important to think beyond the out-of-the-box user experience. Those organisations that have taken the time to properly implement Microsoft 365 from a security and governance perspective get an automatic leg up when adopting Copilot, and many of Copilot's early adopters are now far further along on that journey than they were when they first decided to try it out. We can also expect that as security and compliance features develop across Microsoft 365, they will continue to encompass Copilot too. A big part of Copilot's appeal for me is also the extensibility solutions Microsoft has built. I started my own consulting practice focused on low-code solutions using Power Platform, so the way Microsoft has chosen to build Copilot's extensibility tooling is really appealing to me. Power Platform has grown to offer a rich set of tools that are easy to get started with, but also readily manageable at significant scale. By building Copilot Studio on top of Power Platform in the niche previously filled by Power Virtual Agents, anyone with experience of Power Platform can turn their hand to extending Copilot. However, even though I'm choosing to keep Copilot, there are some really good reasons some of you might be thinking about looking elsewhere. Let's consider some of them. Before that though, do you need help with getting the best from Microsoft 365 Copilot? I help businesses like yours with their Copilot adoption journey, from advisory help on the selection of the right AI tool, to technical advice with its implementation, to leadership and end-user training, and support with extending its capabilities through the Copilot Extensibility platform. Whether you are just thinking about which AI solution to choose, or if you're already in the midst of rolling out Copilot, I will help you to maximize your return from your investment in AI. Check out the links down below and get in touch to start working with me. The most profound limitation of Microsoft 365 Copilot from my perspective is also one we've already touched on. Copilot in Teams is arguably the most useful place Microsoft has built a Copilot, but it's also the most frustrating because as soon as a meeting it was organised outside of your tenant, Copilot simply doesn't work. If adoption is all about getting team members used to using tools and rebuilding processes to rely on the benefits of them, then for anyone in a role where they meet on Teams, both with internal and external stakeholders, this limitation is a dagger to the heart of effective adoption. There's often colourful language flowing at my desk when I try to use Copilot quickly to remind me of a detail in a meeting, and I realise it just happened to be one the client set up instead of me. The fact that Microsoft has not built a solution to this problem that is so easily addressed by competitors continues to astonish me. The next limitation I know frustrates some users is that Copilot's abilities are not spread equally across Microsoft 365. This has been improving steadily, but still if you're a dedicated OneNote user or a lot of your process data is in Microsoft lists, Copilot may just not be as helpful to your work processes as you expected it to be. I know this criticism has hit several of the smaller businesses I've worked with, where the decision to adopt Copilot was spearheaded by an AI enthusiastic leader who saw some of Microsoft's early demos and made a purchase decision based on those. While some of these issues have now been resolved through Microsoft's constant updates, I personally know of several businesses where there was significant dissatisfaction around this issue, where they had paid their money but didn't feel they had received the features that they had been promised. On Microsoft's side, the pace of development of Microsoft 365 Copilot has truly mitigated a lot of these early issues. But as I've discussed here several times, there remains a backlog of announced but not yet appeared Copilot features, where it's truly unclear when or if they're coming at this point. For the vast majority of users, I doubt these will be a substantive aspect of any decision to keep or move on from Copilot, but I do think the lack of clarity has left a bad taste in the mouths of some, and they may look elsewhere. Over the course of the last 18 plus months advising businesses on Copilot and other AI adoption, my biggest takeaway is that the tool doesn't matter as much as the conditions you deploy it into. I continue to maintain that Microsoft 365 Copilot is probably the best solution for most Microsoft 365 based businesses, but your success with it will depend a great deal more on your adoption plan and ongoing adoption process than on any killer feature of Copilot over a competitor like Amazon Q or Gemini. The reason is that at this point, the biggest point of difference between these tools isn't their technical capabilities when it comes to generating a sensible response, but to the skills of the users who are choosing to embrace AI into their work processes and writing prompts to get the work done. Organisations giving users more support through adoption, more training, and more room to explore the benefits of AI are just getting better results. So the right answer for most of you who are watching this video is probably just to allow Microsoft to bill another $360 to your credit card for each of your Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses and move on. And then we'll wait another year to see how these products develop, with lots of exciting new capabilities on the roadmap, but also to see what renewal looks like in 2025, given that it was just announced by OpenAI that they plan to raise the price of ChatGPT Plus from $20 per month to $44 over the next 5 years. This may be an annual routine that becomes more and more painful to our pockets over time. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.